The undisputed live from the sold-out T-Mobile Center in Kansas City.
Tonight, Murphyana's heard the clap for Final 10, and he touched the fighters. So unfortunate. Wow, that was just strange. And now Alaskarov, Ikram Alaskarov empties the tank en route to a TKO win.
He absolutely knew that that was going to be the finish.
No doubt about it. He's got to watch these knees, though. Brown buckled him with the right hook and sits him down almost. Oh, and an uppercut.
Thank you so much, Kansas City.
With these high kicks that Gary throws, swells up those arms. Oh, there's a nice right hand there. Oh, wow. Oh, and picked up after the head kick. That was an uppercut.
Big uppercut.
The big one gets through for Gary.
Oh.
That was a right hand from Machado Gary.
Machado
Gary on the ropes. He's got to go. He can't wait. Gary face down. He's got the ankle. Machado Gary trying to survive in deep waters. He's going to lose a decision.
Oh my gosh.
21 days notice against Shavkat. 25 days notice against this man tonight, Cal Long. He's a beast. Well, in 2 weeks' time, I'm flying to Canada. I'm the official backup for the world title fight, and I'm next in line for that world title.
Kia ora e te iwi no mai Haramaiki UFC on Sky, Koravinda Hunia Tōku Ingoa. Joining me on the couch today, UFC Lightweight Dan Hooker. Kia ora e hoa.
Kia ora, it's good to be back.
Yes, once again,
it's
he's
good
back.
It's good to come back with my voice has actually come back from the fight show in Thailand where I was screaming for about 5 hours.
You had your Bruce Buffer slash Dan Hennessy on?
I've lost my voice for a good week and a half. So I'm glad that I'm back, and I'm glad my voice is back because we've got a lot to talk
yeah,
about.
we do, but let's have a little chat about Thailand. It looked a bit crazy over there. I had a lot of people asking me, what is going on with Dan Hooker over in Thailand? I said, I don't know.
Well, this crazy Russian fight show reached out to me. So it was like, Dan, you want to go to UFC in Miami? I'm like, crazy Russian fight show. They're like, we're going to put on a tournament, 32 fighters, 1 minute fights. So not 1 minute rounds. You get 1 minute to throw down, and the decision comes straight after that. So they flew me out there. They put me in a villa. They let me bring 2 Kiwi boys with me, so I flew over with 2 New Zealand boys that represented and threw down and put on some of the best highlight reels, Ale and Corin, and it was just a wild night of fights. There was no actual ring. The people in the crowd would just be in the ring themselves. Lucky that this is not my first rodeo with shows of such nature, but this is the first time that these shows have had cameras there.
Yeah.
So
witnesses.
It was a wild night. I think they've just uploaded like the first round of fights, but it's still like even more action to come. It was incredible. Well, I could speak for hours on it.
Yes, I could sense the excitement when you walked into studio this morning about how much you love this format. But how did you like the commentating and the yelling and the dictating and...
It wasn't really that. They flew over Jimmy Jackson as well, who's another famous New Zealand influencer, and they pretty much just paid me a bunch of money, allegedly, to to drink with Jimmy Jackson and yell at fights and to host the whole event. But they picked the right man for the job because it was absolute chaos. We were losing fighters, guys getting cut. One guy broke his arm. It was all over the show. I was pulling guys out of the crowd to jump into it to make up the numbers. So it was an absolute circus, but I am your ringmaster. Yes. So they picked the perfect ringmaster to lead the dance. If you have a circus team, this guy, of course. But talking about, loving the sport and all these sorts of things, big lightweight news while this time you've been away. Well, obviously not that Dustin Poirier is going to have his retirement or that it's going to be his last appearance, but the fact that him and Max Holloway will be fighting for the BMF title shot, which I thought was pretty interesting considering if Dustin wins the bout, where does that leave the bout, etc., etc. I just wanted to start by asking, what are your thoughts on a Dustin Poirier Max Holloway 3? Yeah, well, that's kind of what Dustin said in his last fight. And leading into this fight, he said that he wants his retirement fight. He wants it, I believe this is at his home in Louisiana. So he's obviously main event, but he said legends only, and there's no better man than Max Holloway. And it is the BMF title. So if he does win it, it is just an imaginary title. So it can just disappear and show up in a completely different weight class or a completely different place. So it does, in terms of the BMF title, it does make sense. I did know that this fight was going down for a long time because they wanted me to back up for this fight. They wanted to get me another lightweight, just fight any old lightweight on the card, and if either of these guys got injured, the UFC wanted me to step in and back up for the BMF title. So it would have been an incredible opportunity. Unfortunately, I need a second surgery on my hand, so there's too much scar tissue in there because that doesn't look like a fist. I could poke someone in the eye. I said I could go to power slap at this point, but no, they just need to. So it's not a major surgery, but they just have to cut her open and clean out some scar tissue that's kind of locking the joint up, clean out the scar tissue. But that would only put me like 9 weeks before this fight, so it would take kind of a perfect storm for me to be able to be ready by hand. So it doesn't look like that is going to happen. But an incredible fight. These guys have had two amazing fights. I know Holloway wants that one back. There's been long talks of Holloway moving up to lightweight permanently. So this is a great fight. This is a great fight.
Yeah, when we think about their careers that they've had, boy, oh boy, when you think about exciting fights, these two in their own right, Max Holloway, what he's done in the featherweight division and when he was champion there, and Dustin Poirier and what he's been able to do. Obviously, you met Dustin Poirier in 2020. So, what was it like to fight Dustin Poirier? I know that when guests call into this show, they always make mention that the Dan Hooker Dustin Poirier fight was one of the favourites that they've watched in UFC history, which is
composure and experience, and it's something that, like, as a young hungry lion coming up, that you run into these veterans that have been around a long time, and then you fight them and you understand why they've been around that so long time, because you get in such a dogfight and a war with them, and they're just able to keep such a cool head, be able to stay so composed when they are under the pump. So I took a lot away from that fight, and I've used what I learned in that fight to win 3 fights since then, because I was hurt, I was injured, but I was able to stay composed from the lessons that I took from that fight. So, you have to just cherish those lessons and experiences as a fighter.
Thinking about predictions, I know that this card is a little ways away, but how would you see this fight going down? Obviously, Poirier's got 2 up on Holloway. Considering that, though, those fights were a very long time ago.
Yeah, I can't see too much changing from that fight. The size advantage is definitely going to stay with Dustin Poirier. The legendary chin of Max Holloway was then tested and shown to not be like, we know as good as anyone. There's just people that get hit on the chin and people that don't get hit on the chin. No one has an indestructible chin. He was clipped by Ilia Topuria and knocked out. So he's not only coming up from featherweight, fighting the bigger fighter in Dustin Poirier, but he's also coming off the back of the only knockout. I believe he had been knocked down potentially once when there was a bit of a question mark on it. Max Holloway before that fight, before that Ilia Poirier fight. So he's coming off the back of the worst loss of his career, being knocked out, fighting a guy he's already lost to twice. It's a tall task.
It is.
It's going to be a tall task for Max Holloway. In Dustin Poirier's last fight, in his hometown, in his main event, you know, the cards are definitely stacked against him. But it'll be one heck of a fight.
And no one's defended the BMF yet?
It seems to be
no one's
seems to be a bit of a poison challenge. Not only defended it, but I think everyone that's
touched it,
everyone that's touched it in their next fight has been knocked out. But that's kind of like the BMF is the fans. That's the fans' belt, and the style in which guys fight to qualify themselves for the BMF is not the safest style. There are guys that go out there and they throw down. There's guys that go out there and put on fan-friendly fights. And longevity is not built into being a fan-friendly fighter, for sure.
And look, one of the biggest chats that have come out of this was Dustin Poirier mentioning again how he would have liked the BMF title to be a tournament style. Dana White thought he meant like through the year, have a couple fights, fight for the BMF at the end of the year, but Dustin said no. He was thinking of multiple fights in one night between Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, yourself and Justin Gaethje. Of course, we know down here in New Zealand with King in the Ring style that, you know, we're kind of accustomed to kickboxing, more than one kickboxing fight in one night. So it's not too...
Imagine crashing your car into a concrete wall and then hopping out, getting in another car and then crashing that into it. Like, I understand that, like, tournament kind of format and King of the Ring, and that's like with the bigger gloves and kickboxing and stuff like that. But at the level that these guys are at, where you're fighting these guys and they're the best guys in the world and we're extremely solid athletes and can bite down and throw down and all know how to break the human body down. Not only get the job done against people, but we know how to shut the human body off. To fight a guy of that caliber and then do it again, I mean, I'll do it if we're...
I mean, I won't say no.
I mean, it sounds stupid, but I'll do it.
Purely based on that, I will do it. But no, that's probably why Dana White turned around to Dustin and said that style would be hard to sanction.
I don't know how they'd let, legally with like a commission and that to a guy, let's say Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway fight, let's say me and Justin Gaethje fight, and then one of them gets their hand raised and they walk out back to the commission. And the commission takes one look at the guy and he's leaking, his nose is hanging off this way, there's blood pouring out of him. For them to sign off and let that guy go out and fight again, I don't think that legally they would be able to let that happen. And then it's like, what if one walks out and gets a knockout in 10 seconds? It'll be a bit of a stitch up.
Yeah. Would it perhaps pull off in Saudi?
I think he's just saying it for the sake of saying it.
Well, he can now, right? He's on the way out.
To sound tough. I don't think it's like...
No one's signing it off. But
like he's even said about like the rematch of Gaethje. He's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to put my family through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Dustin Poirier's already openly come out and said that he doesn't want to put his family through another Gaethje fight. Yeah. And so he's going to fight Holloway then Gaethje or Holloway then me. Like, I think it's just a bit of gameness.
Watch out for this one, whānau. UFC 318 will be fast approaching. We're not too far away from it, but that will be a massive fight to watch. I know you'll be looking at that one as well. But history in the making is going to be made next week when Jack Della Maddalena fights Belal Muhammed for the welterweight title. No Australian or anyone from this region, New Zealand, Australia, has ever fought for the welterweight title before, and Jack has, a great opportunity here. From what I hear, he's headed over to Canada early to prepare. Your thoughts on this matchup? Exciting times. This is happening next weekend.
Yeah, Jack Della, like what an incredible opportunity. Obviously, Shavkat was supposed to fight for this here title, but had, I believe it was an Achilles injury, but he sustained a very serious injury. And obviously, Jack's been kind of waiting water for a long time. He was injured. He's coming off the back of the Gilbert Burns fight, in which he broke his arm. And then it was the exact same break that I had in my arm, and it's just a very difficult bone to heal. And he was getting infected, and it was just taking the longest time to heal. So it was like very difficult for him. I even had his manager reach out to me and go like, "Oh, Dan, what do you think about this time frame?" And I was like, "No." No, don't push that time frame. So he did. He was patient, And then look at what happened. He's walking himself into a title fight, which is an incredible opportunity against Belal Muhammed, who's a very stylistically a great matchup for him. Jack Della is a great defensive wrestler, and obviously has a huge boxing advantage over Belal Muhammed in this fight. I saw a video today. It kind of looked like a bit of leaked footage where Jack Della was actually choked out Craig Jones. That's the talking point of MMA at the moment. Yeah. I'm not sure I believe that, because I have trained with Craig Jones, and I don't think.
He's up there.
But yeah, like it's a great way to market your takedown defense leading into a huge contest against a very solid grappler in Belal Muhammed. But do I believe that it was the case? I don't know. But
I love that it's doing the rounds.
I love that it's doing the rounds. I love that it might be able to get in his opponent's head, but I don't think I'm quite falling for it, guys.
Well, when we think about Craig Jones, obviously he was a part of the camp with Alexander Volkanovski, along with Joe Lopez, Eugene Beerman, Brad Riddell, Frank Hickman. There's been a dream team getting Volkanovski ready, and then Jack Della jumped in camp with them. How much does that help Jack? Because I'm not quite sure how much training he's done with with those heads, and but
oh man, yeah, I've been in the gym with Craig Jones myself, and just his eye for detail is incredible. Like, it'll be just little things that Belal does to control him on top. He's able to break. It was when Volkanovski fought Islam. And he came in, and just the way he spoke about Islam's grappling was like it was almost rubbish. Like, the way that his level of grappling and his level of jiu-jitsu is so high that he's just like, oh, Islam only does 3 things. Here is how you counter these 3. To break such a high-level grappler down in MMA so simply, and to break him down to the point where you're just like, oh, like, he's not incredible. He's like the myth buster. Yeah. So him coming into Jack Della's camp at the last minute and just to put that idea in his head and to bust all the Belal Muhammed grappling myths is just an incredible tool at this stage of the camp.
And let's talk about Jack Della, training with Alexander Volkanovski. Obviously, you are very familiar with training with Alex. What does Jack get out of, having that time with Volk and then watching Volk go on to reclaim his featherweight title? Oh, yeah, it's the same thing as, Volk and Israel's relationship. It's monkey see, monkey do. It's to feed off not only the skill set and the technical advantages, but just how a champion thinks, how a champion acts, how a champion approaches a fight, and just to be surrounded by that is contagious. So obviously Jack Della being in camp with Alexander Volkanovski and then seeing him reclaim gold is obviously a huge advantage. It puts that idea in his head that it is possible. Yeah, it's a huge few weeks for, well, I try to jump on the bandwagon for the region, but I mean for Australian MMA it's huge. We'll and the old Anzacs? Yeah, the old Anzacs. But that fight is happening next weekend, so very, very exciting. I wanted to kind of take your attention to a record that was broken over the last week, I think it was. UFC interim heavyweight champion Tom Aspinal is now the longest reigning interim champion in UFC history. Probably. Congratulations. I mean, do we do a round of applause for that? Nah, he wouldn't even do that. And it's obviously it's a record you don't want to hold. You don't want to hold a record like that, and it's simply because Jon Jones just hasn't, well, from all accounts, signed the dotted line to put that heavyweight title up for grabs. But what do you make of this situation? Oh, difficult spot for Tom. It's like the UFC is still highly confident. I heard Dana White speaking about it just the other day, that they're still really confident that they can get this fight done with Jon Jones. Look, he's smiling at me as I say that. Hunter Campbell, he's the money man for the UFC. He's the man with the contracts. He's spoken to Jon Jones and he reckons he can get it done. Jon Jones has come out and said he will take the fight, but it's going to take him 6 months to prepare for the fight. So we're looking at a 6-month time frame from that fight kind of even gets agreed to that fight being realized. But Tom's stuck in a rock and a hard place. What, does he keep fighting these other tough contenders and defend his interim title, or does he wait
potentially fight and beat the greatest of all time. It's a tough spot. I do not envy his position.
Yeah, his last fight was against Curtis Blades in July of 2024, which is, a year nearly gone by. John Jones, of course, won the heavyweight title against Stipe Miocic in November of the year before that. I mean, do you get to a point where if it was anybody else, that title would perhaps have been stripped by now?
Of course. If we're looking at any other fighter on the face of the planet Earth, they would no longer be holding a title. But he is John Jones. He is the most accomplished fighter in history. So and he is, I think, actively now, obviously because Conor McGregor is not in the drug testing and not actively competing. He's not the biggest pay-per-view star, but besides Conor McGregor, John Jones is the next biggest pay-per-view seller, which is the next biggest money spinner for the UFC. So they want him holding a title. They want him in a pay-per-view main event fighting for a title. It's just that they're willing to sprinkle enough money out of there to grease the wheels, to draw him back. It's a difficult position for the UFC because John Jones does have enough money to see him out for the rest of his days. He doesn't need the money. He's come out and said that he needs a ridiculous amount of money to drag him back to the UFC. And it looks like the UFC is willing to meet those demands, but we'll just have to wait and see. Just like Tom Aspinal, we got to wait and see, baby.
I get the entertainment side of it and putting a show together and getting those big fights and all that, but what does that do for you as a fighter sitting on the sidelines for so long, like Tom Aspinal, sitting for nearly a year? You're not injured, you're not anything, just sitting on your hands waiting for a fight. What does that do for you?
Difficult, but he's also staying active and building his brand. There's obviously more ways to make money in the UFC than just he's obviously a very marketable fighter now. He's the guy that the GOAT. He's the guy that the pound for pound best fighter of all time is running from, allegedly. That's so he's out there and you see him. He's doing advertisements. He's doing promos. He's still an interim champion, which still means that when he does fight, he does receive pay-per-view numbers. So I don't think money is that. Any time as a fighter where you'll be able to make money and not get hit in the head, that's good time. So I can't say he's sitting there and dying for money or anything like that. But obviously he wants to get out there and compete. He's still young. He does have time on his side. Heavyweights do have a bit of a longer tooth in the game. They can fight a lot later, like Stipe Miocic had his last fight at 42, 43 years old. Tom Aspinall is still a young guy in his 20s, I believe. So he does have time on his side. Right.
And do you see this fight happening before the end of 2025?
No. No, stop asking me about
it. we just want to see it.
Honestly.
There's 6 months is ticking down, you know.
Get rid of that picture. It's a no from me.
Fine. It's another one. The picture's gone.
Get it out of my sight.
Asking you, Sharis.
Get out of my sight.
Look, before
Stop asking me. Get it out of my sight.
We'll bring it back up when it's back on the news cycle.
Yeah.
Right. We have to.
Another 3 months. You ask me again.
It'll be back again, or someone will kick up a stink about it. Anyway. Talking about kicking up a stink, this weekend is the Stealth Fighters League. SFL 2 is back in Auckland at Trusts Arena. And very exciting, of course, as always. City Kickboxing have a host of fighters on that card. I just wanted to know your thoughts about, because we were all there last card, which was pretty cool. We saw Ray Seffel was there. All the CKB boys were there out and about, and the UFC ones as well. Your thoughts about this card this weekend? Yeah,
oh man, the best show in town. Like in terms of theatrics, these boys they can put a card together, and it's an incredible show, and it's one of the best entertainment-wise fight nights that we have in this country. So I'd get down and I'd support that with everything that I can. Fergus Jenkins, he's out there. So my coach Carl Weber's bringing Fergus Jenkins up. He's probably one of the hottest young prospects in the entire country. So I'm excited to see him compete. My fight I am looking forward to the most is Darkman versus Ants Nansen. Yes. We stepping out. These are two of the best heavyweight strikers in the country. They'll be slipping on the small gloves and throwing down. I expect someone to get knocked out, and I cannot wait to see that fight go down. So, yeah, best show in town, Saturday night. Do not miss it.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to an old friend of mine, Viet Ando, coming out of Auckland MMA. He's back in the mix.
Viet's back.
Oh, Viet is back.
Viet's back.
Yeah.
He's a hot young prospect. I had my eyes on him for the longest time.
Yeah.
He took some time off to focus on business, but now he's back in the cage, and I cannot wait for that fight as well.
Yes, it is very exciting times. And good news, Whānau, we have a giveaway. We have 4 double passes to give away if you want to attend SFL. So the conditions are you have to be Auckland based. All you have to do is jump on our Instagram and state who you want to see at SFL 2 in action this Saturday and why. The best answers will go in the draw to win those tickets. You can't enter, I can't enter. But we've given our reasons.
I have tickets.
I have tickets. But please let us know who you are really excited to see and why, and we will give those out to our winners on Friday morning the latest. So you have enough time to organise yourself for Saturday night. But SFL, don't miss it. The fight card will be live streamed on CSN as well. So you can watch all the action if you can't make the card or you're out of town.
Wonderful.
Pretty cool. Dan Hooker, thank you so much.
That's a wrap.
Let's wrap this thing up. But Whānau, this weekend, UFC on ESPN. It's a fight night. Sandhagen up against Figueiredo. Do not miss that. All the action goes down from 1 p.m. on ESPN UFC Fight Night. Don't miss that. Until next week, hei kōna mai.
The undisputed